Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. So today we are going to unpack some conversations that we tend to have with some individuals. We are going to look at the common fallacies that, unfortunately, family members, friends, managers, co-workers, you name it, use. And when we see things for what they really are, then that's when we're going to question. We're going to say what, who, how, why, when, where. We're going to get some clarification on what people are saying. And before long, it's going to make some individuals upset because they're used to just barking orders at you. They're used to just telling you how you ought to feel. They're used to pigeonholing you into situations, and they're used to you either not saying nothing about it, either you say too much about it, either you say very little, or you go and you take your grievance and put it on your husband, your wife, your kids, rather than deal with the person who is using various fallacies that are making you angry, making you upset, making you want to quit a job, making you want to divorce, making you want to go upside somebody's head. Come on. So we are unpacking these fallacies that show up. And as we unpack, by all means, participate in this exercise by leaving a comment as you hear something that resonates with you. So let's see if some individuals can recognize some things. So you have a relative, someone who says something to you about, no, I don't have the money for that, okay? And besides, I'm not giving her anything because, well, she probably messed over her money. You see, she don't have much education, and so 9 times out of 10, she probably messed over her money. The reason why she asking. Ooh, okay. Now, someone, what type of fallacy would that be? Dun, 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 dun. And someone says a personal attack. You're right. Or also known as an ad hominem. Yes, this is where someone is attacking the person by making the argument, ignoring the argument, whatever they're doing. The point is that how do you know why she's asking for money? I mean, why are we jumping to conclusions that she messed over money? You know the one who said all that doesn't want you to ask questions. Sounds like you're siding with her. No, I'm not. People need money, and it's not always about people messing over money. Well, something happened. See, that's why I told her she should be in college. She should be doing something with her life. All right, moving on. So you have this relative who says some real messy things, right? And it's the kind of things that it's just like, where do you get this information? So they're talking, let's say, about a politician, something they saw in the news. And they say something like, well, I don't know anything about that politician all like that. But what I can say is that he's a good man. You know, he helped us black folks out. He hooked up some white people. I mean, you know, he's a decent man. And so, you know, I don't know about all this other stuff, but I know that he is a good person. Okay? All right, so this person is swearing that they know that this politician is good because he hooked a couple people up. or a group of people, what have you. If you said that fallacy is dun, 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 something along the lines of ignorance, appeal to ignorance, ding, 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 you got it right. Now, this is one of those arguments that assumes that something is true because it hasn't been proven false. So, I mean, these people are out here, they're doing this, that, and the other. But, I mean, I'm just going to believe that he's a decent person because nobody has said anything else. Well, then 9 times out of 10, somebody probably did say something somewhere, but you can't be everywhere to find out about a politician, a family member, a friend, what have you. But there's a lot of that ignorance that goes on. All right, moving on to the next little exercise here. See, we're unpacking these conversations. I talk a lot on this channel about all sorts of topics. But today, though, we have reached a place where we're unpacking these conversations and we're going to recognize them. And when we recognize them, we're going to ask the question. Oh, and if someone does come at you with this sort of ignorance, then this is where you're asking the questions, right? Well, how do you know that this individual is such a good person? I mean, just because they did, some things for a few people or for a group, but we need to look at other areas of this person's life other than how generous they were with money, shall we? Okay, so that's how you deal with that one. Let's move on. So this is going to be familiar for some people, especially when you've got those individuals in the family who esteem celebrities. So I'm going to use a celebrity like Steve Harvey, for example. All right. Well, looks like Steve Harvey, he's looking good these days. That supplement that he got, evidently it must be working. And so I think that I'm going to use this because Steve Harvey said it. And I don't care what anybody says because Steve Harvey said it. And anyway, I like me some Family Feud. I love me some Family Feud. Okay. Now, what type of fallacy are we working with? Dun, 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 dun. All right. I don't know why I'm using, superhero type of music, but hey, maybe you feel that way. All right. So if you said that is an appeal to authority, ding, 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 you got that right. Now that fallacy, this is where the arguments attempt to use the authority of a person to prove a claim, you see, while often authority can provide strength to an argument. Problems can occur when the person's opinion is not shared by other experts or when the authority is irrelevant to the claim. All right, so some of you all, you know how this goes because we could plug anybody's name, any celebrity, or we could even plug in grandma and granddad. And I mean, sometimes on this channel, I have said something related to my grandmother and, not that she is the authority, God is the authority, but every now and again I'll reference her because she has some interesting things to say. But no, we're not we're not putting grandma on some kind of throne and kicking God off. That's not happening. All right, moving on. Oh, and just so you know, for the believers, some of this would sound like, gotta take that pause and give an example what this would sound like in the Christian groups. This would sound like, well, I listened to Dr. Charles Stanley, God rest his soul, and he told me this and he told me that. Yep, when I was watching the video, when I was listening to his radio show, and when I was watching television. So yes, Dr. Charles Stanley, I believe everything he says, okay? Or pastor over at the church. See, pastor said, and that's why I love when pastor tells us this and pastor tells us that. Okay, 9 times out of 10, at some point, their conversation with you is going to be about what that person said, right? And even though, yes, sometimes people say some really good things, right? The problems, once again, will occur when the person's opinion is not shared by other experts, okay? Or when the authority is irrelevant to the claim. In the Christian sect, the appeal to ignorance would sound something like, well, nobody has proven that God doesn't exist. You see, so I guess I'm just going to believe that God exists. Oh, yeah, this is a little nerve-wracking, isn't it? But this is the type of argument that people will put out there. And this is where you're going to have to provide some information, usually from personal experience, okay, or from the experience of others. That's just how it goes. Or you would have to refer to nature, refer to creation, things that man still cannot explain, things that man did not create, things that were here long before he got here, you see. So we're not just making a statement about or one that is a fallacy. No, we've got to go a bit deeper. When it comes to the ignorance that some individuals have, that argument, once again, where they are assuming something's true because it hasn't been proven false. The same thing could happen when it comes to faith. Jesus. Well, I mean, the pastor said that Jesus is real. Okay, so we got the appeal to authority. And so anybody who says that Jesus isn't real, well, they're just dumb. Oh, do we really want that? So there's a personal attack there. It's sprinkled, with the appeal to authority. And now something's going to come along in that statement that is going to be rude, ignorant at some point. So, all of you all that got issue with Jesus, well, forget you all, because I know, and that's all that matters. So you all can shut the bleep up. Oh, no. That's not what we do. That's not what we, oh my goodness. And I could see, like in the spiritual realm, someone just going, oh, I know somebody like that. Or, oh, I came across a YouTube channel and people talking crazy like that. Yes, they do. That's why I went on and I used that example, because I'm like, did she just cuss right now? Is she really going off? No, if I didn't know anything about Jesus, I'm not listening to her much longer, you see. So that's why we have to apologize that you all are seeing this sort of thing play out. Yes, there are those interesting believers out there. We apologize that, they're out there. And we're asking every day that the Lord just make a way for certain people to not talk anymore. Just don't. You're not winning souls to Christ. Okay. So then there are those statements that we may hear with family members, friends, co-workers. So we're going to move on to another fallacy. I believe that angels are the ones who help us with everything. They are there to just take us through every storm. And angels are stronger than men and stronger than women. Okay, and that's all they say. That's it. What do you think? What do you think would be the fallacy on that one? If you said something along the lines of appeal to consequence, an appeal to consequence concludes that a premise is true or false based on whether the consequences are desirable or not. So, you see, you could believe that the angel healed, that the angel worked on behalf, that the angel is in every situation and all of that. And some of the other fallacies can be sprinkled in this as well. And with all of that personal belief, though, the one who challenges you on the statement is going to once again question some things, just like with the appeal to authority and with ignorance and, you know, the personal attack. Why do you feel that Steve Harvey knows what he knows, right? And I mean, other than the fact that you see him on TV and you enjoy Family Feud, right? So with consequence, it's, well, what makes you think that angels are operating in every aspect of our life? Okay. And why do you think that angels are stronger than men? And when there's a situation that goes on, do you really believe that angels are healing? Do you really believe that angels are fighting? You see, there has to be more that is provided if you're talking to someone and that person is looking for some insight, or maybe you just volunteered to give them some information. Now you have to be prepared to work a bit, okay? And then for some individuals, they'll go, well, I'll pull out my Bible, okay? I'll bring a few of the family members in to join in on the discussion who they've had personal experiences with angels. I will give them a resource where there is much talk about angels, and then I'll direct them over to a community where people share their experiences about angels. And then if that helps them, great. If it doesn't, well, I did my part, right? Okay. Here we go. Here's another exercise. So there's a fight that takes place and you witness that fight. And then let's just say you're the one who decides to say something about the fight. Okay. Now, mind you, you got limited information. So you say something like, yeah, I guess there is a fight that is going on, given all this stuff that's been happening in the world. And, you know, lately in the community, they've been acting like fools. So, yeah, it has to be a fight. I don't see it being anything else. You see, it's either they were fighting or they were fighting. Point blank and simple, because from what I gather, I mean, there was somebody out there on the ground. But did you see anybody punch? Here we go. Here comes the question. Did you see anybody punch? Well, no, I didn't see all of that. Okay, so you're just saying that you just believe that it's a fight. Yeah, but you didn't see nobody throw any punches. There's somebody on the ground. I'm just saying, because with everything happening. Okay, that right there, what kind of fallacy is that? That would be a false dilemma argument. Falsely frames an argument as an either or, right? Choice without allowing for additional options. And in this either or, it's a fight. It's just a fight. See, this is, once again, the type of thing that you have to do. Let's say that a family member posts up something on Facebook. This happened not that long ago. And that information, they claim that they know that person, or they claim that the situation that is in that particular article was related to another family member. Okay. So right away, because one, the authority is this family member in your life that you tend to trust, that you tend to believe. So you're appealing to authority because you assume that this person knows what they're talking about because they posted up this information. Then the person who posts up the information tells you some things, but how do they know, right? If you don't bother to ask the questions, how do they know that this person is in fact a family member and that the situation that they're explaining in their own words, is that really in fact true? Meanwhile, you take a look at the information, you see that the date is very old. You also read the information and you find out that these people aren't even in the country, even though the relative said that these people are in the country, when according to the article, these people live in another country altogether. And then you start to read a bit of the information, and this person doesn't have a connection to the family, at least through the last name, which, of course, sometimes, right, people marry or people don't marry, and last names either carry on or they don't, okay? Or somebody just picks a totally different last name. So you'd have to explore, you'd have to do some more research. But there's enough information, though, that you've discovered that you've got more questions than you've got answers. And that this, in fact, is not lining up with what you know concerning your family. So, I'm going to have to ask questions. Now, the person who hasn't bothered to do any of the research or is just pulling up information and just saying whatever about it, they're not going to appreciate you asking those questions. Are you certain that this person is a relative of ours? I mean, based on the information that I'm seeing, this does not line up. Can you provide additional information where you have talked to the person who is referenced in the article? Okay. Has this person ever set foot in the state at which you say that this person is a relative and who had a baby with A, B, and C? You see, this is the type of person I am. I don't just go with my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my cousin, my uncle, or my uncle, my aunt, whoever said this. So therefore I believe it. And that's what makes me not the most likable person with certain family members. Okay. Because I have always questioned things from the time I was little. There is no shaking that. There is no shaking that. And so when you have this sort of thing that's going on in a family and you don't unpack it, you end up being the one that carries lies, that carries misconceptions, that carries confusion. Okay. It's real embarrassing when you find out that somebody who you thought was a relative, they go, no, I'm sorry, I've never even set foot in that area. I don't know who you're talking about, and I've never slept with that person. So I don't know where you got your information. You see, so this is why you have to make sure that you're doing thorough research, because the information out on the internet doesn't always apply just because maybe people have the same last name. Or maybe because, well, we just happen to be in the same area. However, I didn't know that person, you see, or maybe I never was in that area. So the who, what, when, where, how, why, and all that good stuff is very, very important. All right, we're going to use another example. So you have someone in the family, and this particular person is saying some things that you are questioning. Okay. They say, my daughter, she should have gotten an A, but instead that professor, she always complains about him. That professor gave her a D, and I resent it. And this is what I hate about these schools. And these schools this and these schools that. Okay. Now, for some of you all, depending on who you're talking to, you'll probably just let that one just vent. But others, you may not want to do that because it seems to be a pattern now that it's always everybody else who's the blame rather than this child. Okay? So if you guessed in a scenario like this, circular reasoning, you're correct. This is an argument that relies on the conclusion being true for the premise to be true. Okay? So we need to be asking questions. Well, are you sure that is about these professors? I mean, how much studying is she really doing? I mean, quite a few times you told me that she's out there and she's having a good old time partying, and she reminded you of you back when you were younger. You see, so maybe these grades that she's getting is reflective of how much studying she is not doing, you see. All right. So, I mean, people have said a lot of things, right? And we don't bother to ask the questions. We don't check them. Then later on, something small ends up being bigger. And then, of course, there are times where if the Lord's not moving you to speak, you just don't speak about it. Okay. Now at the workplace, these sorts of things happen, right? You got a personal attack that goes on where somebody says, oh, these freaking millennials, or, oh, these idiots, or, oh, these lazy SOBs. I mean, I've been in some mean spirited atmospheres and they are not sugarcoating. They're not being nice. They're being mean. And I even had to go to HR quite a few times about some of the things that were said. So when these ad hominems are happening, these personal attacks, are we going to continue to let that happen? Or are we going to do something about it? Because there comes a point where, there's only so much. Sometimes people will just ignore. They'll just ignore a person. And that's mean. I'm just going to ignore all of these people because I just don't want to deal with them today. And so the manager just shuts the door. And now it's 3, 5, 8 hours later, the phone is ringing. People are showing up. They want to see the manager, and the manager's just ignoring everybody. You see. So that is an attack as well. All right. So we have a couple more, and then I'm going to wrap up this message because I just want people to pay closer attention to how they're communicating and how people are communicating to them. And then let's ask more questions because that helps out with our critical thinking skills, believe it or not. So there is, a situation where someone is so excited about a game and they swear up and down. I saw this in that one movie where the older women were excited about being at that game where Tom Brady, it's 80 for Brady. That was the name of the movie. And one of them, she played out the same scenario the day that their team ended up going to the Super Bowl, and she looked at it as her good luck, right? I'm just going to do the same thing each time in the hopes that the team is going to win. Okay. Some people have their share of lucky, what do they call it? Like a rabbit's foot. Some people have just some type of relic that they say is tied to why a team won. I know, far-fetched. And for some folks, it sounds crazy to me. Yeah. But this is what goes on. So in this particular scenario, we have someone who says something like, yes, this is the reason why the team won. It was because of me. I was wearing my red shirt and that day, something spilled. And then there was, so-and-so who came over and she had something pretty on, and you better wear that again because this team is going all the way. Okay. What would you call that when a person makes a statement like that, or statements? A false cause, a post hoc. Yeah. A post hoc argument claims that because two things happen sequentially, then the first must have caused the second. Exactly. So this is where, once again, we're asking questions. Okay, I'm smiling and I'm being upbeat about this. Okay, most of these things, I'm usually positive, upbeat, but if it's really just offensive, disrespectful, ugly, then no, I am very firm. I'm very strict when I come back with my questions. Or sometimes it's just a statement. And I might even have my share of fallacy, who knows. But either way, though, so can you just tell me what makes you think that by wearing that shirt and she's wearing that shirt and you're swinging that thing around, that the team is going to the Super Bowl? Don't you come in here with your negative energy. I'm not coming in with any negative energy, but God forbid if something happens to that shirt that you're wearing or something happened, don't you say that. See, that's why I don't want her coming around here. I'm just saying, right? It seems like this is a bit much. It's like you're doing too much, right? Just to make sure. And then what if she doesn't show up? What if she doesn't show up at the next game? Girl, are you showing up? Well, yeah, about that. Don't tell me you're not going to show up and you're not going to wear your pretty. That means she's not going to have her pretty shirt on too. The one that the guys, oh my gosh, they won the Super Bowl and she's not going to be here. I don't know what I'm going to do. See, this is why I'm saying that we don't need to be so caught up in all of these things that supposedly are going to bring good luck. You see, you're putting yourself in bondage. Could you just stop? If something breaks, if something gets stolen, like she said, she's not going to be here. And the Super Bowl is how far away? So this is the sort of thing that for some individuals gets them into some kind of trouble. And so God, he is not like that. All of this type of communication, fallacies, this brings about division. It brings about all sorts of challenges when they're not challenged. You have children that'll come along and communicate the same way. You have business professionals who will come along and they will communicate the same way. Somebody has to draw the line in the sand. We need clear communication. We need to back up the statements that we make. We need to go back to the scriptures. We need to, whatever it takes. But what we can't do is continue to go forward, making some statements and then people, without explanation, you see. All right, this one is popular among leaders. Okay, listen up. We've got an example. So President, let's make up a name. President Smith. Now, he's been coming up with all sorts of proposals. And not only that, he's saying that it's his administration that has been doing at least 90% of the work. And that everybody else, well, he doesn't even give those other people any type of credit whatsoever. Okay. And he talks about how he's inherited a mess. And he's also talking about that if we don't vote for him again, then it's going to be just war and it's going to be hell and it's just going to be a hot mess all the way around. So what are we going to do about this? All right. What type of argument do you think that this person who is quoting a president, what do you think it is? If you answered a straw man argument, yep, that's involving misrepresenting the argument in a less favorable way to make it easier to attack. You see. So there's going to be these bad consequences that take place if we don't, go along with what this administration says. I just don't get it. I mean, he's the one that worked on the military operations and he's the one that did this and he did that. And I tell you, if they don't vote for him again, you see, we're going to be left out there defenseless. Okay, so all of that, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, because now I got to break all of this down and show where this person is just they're just exaggerating. You see, this person is inciting all sorts of fear and worry and stress. We need to calm the public down, you see. So this is what goes on right in front of our eyes. Politicians say all sorts of crazy, right? Presidents say all sorts of things. And, there's a fight. There's a fight out there. All right. Looks like we got one more. Let's see. So every time I go to the grocery store, I kid you not, the food is so expensive. Okay. And I think that the reason why the food is so expensive is because they're probably going to be closing down a lot of these grocery stores. And so they're just making their money now. That's it. That's what I think. Oh, okay. That's kind of crazy, right? Closing down all the grocery stores, but hey, who knows? In the meantime, though, what are we thinking this fallacy might be? If you said correlation implies causation, you got that right. It is similar to post hoc. All right. But without the requirement of sequence, this fallacy assumes that just because two things are related, one must have caused the other. Often there's a third variable not considered. So I learned about these fallacies in a textbook over there on Libre Text. Okay. When you come across your share of issues in communication, in conversation, once again, we're going to ask those questions. So let's go back and let's challenge some folk. So with the straw man, are you sure that all of these things that you're talking about, all of the bragging of what this administration has done? Well, remember, it's not me. I'm just telling some people what he said. Okay, well, either way, though, do you believe all of that? Well, no, I don't really believe all of that. Okay, so if you don't believe all of that, then we need to create a list as to why you don't believe it. How about we do that? And then we take that list and we're going to share that list with that administration, making them say exactly what they did. And then we're going to go back to the other administration and we're going to find out exactly what they did. And we're not going to go along with all of this other stuff like the military. And look, we know that our military is very strong and they have received lots of money, so we can talk about all the money that the military has received and all of the training that has been going on, okay? And that we don't need to invest any more time or any more energy talking about this subject matter any longer, you see. So it's looking at the situation for what it is, looking at the statements, looking at everything, asking specific questions that cause that person to really think about what they just said or what they just found out or what they're reporting, you see. That one's a good one, though. Do you really believe, do you think, because I get that one over the years, I've gotten that one about, well, do you really believe that God is real? Or do you believe that Jesus did, in fact, die on the cross? What's your thoughts about sexual immorality? And how do you feel about women and in the Bible and as compared to women nowadays? And, all of these different types of questions. And so for me, it's not so much about me as a mortal, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and what I think. It's more about what you know. in your personal experience, what your walk has been, if you even have a walk with Jesus Christ. You know, what you've read. You read just like I read. What did you gather from the scripture? Sometimes you just have to turn it back around on people, because the minute you start giving your personal opinion about some things, especially when you know that that person is the type that just wants to attack you. I mean, just the fact that some people ask a bunch of questions back to back to back like that, they're attacking you. And then they're not giving you the opportunity to respond either. You see, wow, you're really mad at God, so you're taking it out on me because you can't see him, because you can't feel him. Give me a break with that. And so what the Lord has spoken to many of us, teachers, preachers, evangelists, prophets, prophetesses, deacons, church secretary, even a choir director, all of us, is to stop having conversations with these people who are attacking you. And if you're listening very closely to their communication, you know that they're on their way to attacking you. Okay. With the correlation implies causation. You know, groceries, hey, we know, expensive. But are they so expensive to the point where grocery stores are going to shut down? What? Where'd you get that information from? You see? So there is this saying things like, well, you know, where exactly did you get this information? And what is it that you're going to have, you know, to do? Let's just say, if you do believe that, what is it that you're going to have to do to prepare? You see? So, because sometimes there is no talking any type of logic with some individuals. They just believe what they believe. Okay, so you believe that all the grocery stores are going to eventually shut down. Well, I mean, okay, well, if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. But I can pull some information to show you that no, the grocery store prices, it's not about the grocery store shutting down. The grocery store prices have a lot to do with the economy. It has a lot to do with, and then you can just break down their local grocery store. You know, as you can see, you can even do some comparison. As you can see, Kroger versus Publix. You know, look at the charts here. Look at all of the monies that are coming in. You know, Save a Lot versus Aldi's. I mean, look at what's happening here. You know, sometimes people, maybe they'll believe that what they're saying is illogical if you bring out a bunch of statistics. But once a person's locked in on a belief, as some of you all have learned, there is no change in that. Like, for instance, there is no change in the fact that we are believers and we love Jesus Christ, and we know that some things have happened in our personal lives and our professional lives, and it was nothing but God. And so no amount of questioning that is going to change that. So that is where, hey, we draw the line in the sand. Well, I thank you so much for taking time out to listen. I hope that this has been beneficial to you. May God richly bless you as well as those that you love. Check out some of the other audio messages. Like, subscribe, share, comment. And those of you all who feel so moved to give, by all means, please do. And blessings to you.